It's quite interesting how all of a sudden people who were saying a couple of months ago and last year, you kept hearing black fatigue, right? You still hear it today. I was listening to a video some time ago where a woman was breaking down white fatigue. She said white fatigue has been a thing with black Americans since centuries ago, but we didn't say it. We didn't have to. So all of a sudden they started coming out with black fatigue. And then when you think about it, it's like black people didn't do anything close to what you did to us and continue to do today. And the so-called black on black crime is another stigmatization. But anyway, I don't want let me get back on topic. I thought it was is mighty peculiar and interesting how, like I said, all of a sudden people are so interested in what we're doing and why we're doing it. And my thing is, why you care? I thought you were fatigued. People realize what fatigue means. Fatigue means you're so mentally exhausted. So if you're mentally exhausted and tired of hearing about a certain group or subject, you veer far away from it. When you see it, you like, I didn't see it. You know, the job I used to work at, if I called in and told them I was fatigued, by law, they had to let me take that day off because I couldn't be mentally fatigued, physically fatigued doing the job I used to do. That's how serious it was. It would have been a federal crime if I called in and said I'm mentally fatigued and they still require me to go to work. So I think a lot of people just say it and okay. Well, I was looking at this video yesterday. If it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. This white guy called in and was asking the host, why do you guys have to do this? And he was like, do what? Why do you need to create more division? As if division didn't exist, right? And he's like asking him, like pulling teeth and nails, get to the point. Why are we doing what? Why do you have to separate yourself from other blacks? And I'm listening to this and I was waiting for the host to say, why do you care? Why is this your business? If you and your group got together and said you wanted to be called penguins, do you think we would ask you why? We'd be like, that's your business, and keep it moving. How delineating works for Native Black Americans is requiring people, politicians, lawmakers, legislators to stop clumping us into one group. That way, we don't allow you to clump us together. You cannot do things for so-called black folks and then act like you're doing it for black Americans. That's what they have been doing for decades. One reason why delineating is very important is because it will require local leaders and career politicians to reveal their ledgers. The ledgers kept that shows what they have done for certain groups, and how much was given. What was done, how much was given. Now that we are saying, hey, you're not going to keep putting us in with people of color, we're requiring you to show, we're requiring you to be transparent. You have to specifically show what you have done for Black Americans, Native Black Americans to this country, who were here also some of us were here before the Mayflower. So you won't be able to lump us and clump us together with Africans, Caribbeans, Haitians, damn near every other group who you decide to call people of color. The reason why a lot of leaders and politicians, career politicians, will be skittish about revealing their true ledgers is because it will show that they never offered resources specifically to those called Black Americans who are natives, who have long, strong roots in this country. They've stolen our resources. They've given it to people of colors. Financial crimes have been committed against FBAs for centuries. Now, I want to play this clip for you. I want to ask you this question before I play the clip. How long does it take people to be tired of being tired? Check this out.
You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well, then stick to your word and let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man, you're a worm, you're afraid of us, you're afraid to give us equal stand. You're afraid that if you give us equal ground that we will match you and we will override you. And if that's what you're afraid of us, then tell us that just what you're afraid of. This revolution is filled with so many ironies, really. First you tell us that it is manly to keep your word. All right, if you are a man, you keep your word. And now all of the black people in this country are demanding, and even the black people in the whole world are demanding, is that you keep your word. You told us we were free. Well, then show us that we're free. You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well, then stick to your word and let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man, you're a worm, you're afraid of us, you're afraid to give us equal stand. You're afraid that if you give us equal ground that we will match you and we will override you. And if that's what you're afraid of us, then tell us that just what you're afraid of. But don't keep hiding it from us and holding this up to us, and every time we ask you for something, you give us a little bit of something, and it's all tokenism. We don't want tokenism. And there are most black men in this world that don't want charity. And yet still every time we ask you for something, you give us a little piece, a little piece. You're playing games with us. We're not children. We're big men. I've seen my father have to put up with all kinds of stuff. He was a big man. He raised a family. He went down south, and he had to go around to the back door with his wife. We're not asking for anything. We're not asking for any favors. All we want is what's ours. Now, there are many black veterans who are coming back, and they're mad. They're angry. Do you think that they're going to sit down through this? We're asking, and if we ask and we don't get, we're prepared to stand up and take it. If I ask a man, I tell a man I am hungry. I tell him I am cold. And I ask him to do something about my condition. And this man holds a loaf of bread right in front of me so I can see it. And I keep asking him, I'm begging him to please give me a slice of the loaf of bread. I am hungry. Then it is known by every psychologist that the next step in the progression is I am going to knock him upside the head and take the bread from him.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Thank you for showing up. Appreciate you. Appreciate your support. I really do. Now check this out. I have a super doozy for you. Check this clip out.
My community feels left behind because a lot of these people are, they could use some of that tax money in Chicago to help them.
Just basically made it, both parties have paid, especially Democratic Party, a lot of attention to what black voters want because they're a huge part of the Democratic coalition. And now that's not true. Anyone who says, it's just white racism is. What is your average black person in Chicago, native born, family been here 300 years? What does he think of watching his city overwhelmed with illegal aliens?
Did you hear what Carlson said? Did you hear him say a specific time, the amount of time we've been in this country? Listen to it again.
What is your average black person in Chicago, native born, family been here 300 years? What does he think of watching his city overwhelmed with illegal aliens?
In my opinion, Carlson just made a political move against the Dems. I believe that's all it really was about, because I don't believe that he and his guests really give a hootenanny about black Americans. Every chance they get to stick it to the Dems, that's what they're going to do. And, I don't subscribe to any party. The only party I subscribe to is... the name is I Don't Play BS Games. So I asked black Americans, if you look at the past 4 years, what did you benefit? What did you get that was beneficial to us as a community when Biden was in office? Okay, let's continue on with Carlson and his guests.
They're getting massive amounts of care, right? Free hotel room, 3 square meals a day, free medical care. And the black community feels left behind because a lot of these people are, they could use some of that tax money in Chicago to help them. They're taxpayers. They should have the first chance to get some of that help. But the mayor of Chicago just, he's ignoring his own community. And I was up there just over a week ago, and I met with hundreds of people that were up there, and they're suffering.
And you said they're suffering? Thank you for letting us know something we already knew. The thing is, this country and the world knows that Black American communities suffer. Do they do anything to help? No. Do they do everything they can in their power to add to the oppression? Yes. Do they mock and take joy in how they see Black Americans treated in their own country? Yes. Do they do anything to go back and help their own countries that are oppressed and suffering? No, the hell they don't. Okay, delineating is used in the context of Black Americans, particularly within discussions of politics and representation. It often refers to the process of defining and acknowledging their distinct identity as a group within the broader American society, says the National Institutes of Health, is a government agency. This can be seen as a way to advocate for better representation and address specific challenges faced by Black American communities, enhance political power by recognizing and delineating Black communities as distinct groups with shared interests and concerns. It can facilitate the creation of districts where their votes hold more power, allowing them to elect representatives who prioritize their needs, addresses specific issues. Acknowledging Black Americans as a unique group can enable targeted policies and programs to address specific issues impacting their communities, such as disparities in education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. See, that's why they started lumping us in, calling us people of color. They had no problem calling us people of color because it enabled them to avoid issues that are distinct to our community. Also, as I've said in several videos, Black Americans have always wanted to be separated. If we were separated, we would be able to prioritize what is going on with us specifically, and not what's going on with other people who come from other countries who are considered Black. Now they want to be called Black. Lumping us into one community and one category was detrimental to our communities, and it has to stop. Let me explain how the entire diaspora, except those called Black Americans, the natives of this land, benefited from our fight while we continue to be shunned and shoved to the edges of the outer limits. This is directed to Pan-Africans. Did you care when you found yourselves enrolled in colleges throughout this country in record numbers? When you were striving to higher education, did you even bother to realize that one important piece of the puzzle was missing? You didn't see head nor tails of those who helped you begin the journey towards the American dream. You could not care any less. And that's why there is a need for Black Americans to completely separate from the games played by white races and their minions, which appear to be Black and non-Black immigrants. I remember about a month ago, I just started thinking about Pan-Africa. I never was into it. I knew a little bit about it, learned about it in African American history, but I didn't see the benefits of it. So one day I was doing some research, and I thought about Pan-Africa. I said, wait a minute, let me find out how long they have been established in this country in Northern America. And I looked and saw the date that they were established, and I was like, okay, well, after their date of establishment, let me see what happened to us in this country by white races and, corrupt politicians. Corrupt politicians and law enforcement agents look the other way, right? I saw all the things that happened. I was like, well, where was Pan-Africans? Well, I thought they came over here to fight for justice together with us to help make things better. Where were you when black men and women were being snatched up out of their houses and off the streets and getting strung up in trees? Communities bombed and burned down. Where were you? Pan-Africans in America. You were busy making things better for you. When you brought your people over here in droves, that's all you was doing. You was just making it better for you. There was an article written in 2007 about the issues of who is getting into colleges. Native Black Americans are immigrants. The article was written in 2017? I think 2017, not 2007. Recent years have seen a rise in the number of black college students from Africa and the Caribbean, and a downturn in admissions of native-born black Americans. Students agree that the issue of native versus immigrant background remains a sensitive one. Something in the crowd made Shirley Wilshire wonder. As a college student in the early 1970s, her black classmates were like herself, born in the U.S. to American parents. But at an alumni reunion at Mount Holyoke College last year, she saw something different and asked for admissions data to prove it. My suspicions were confirmed, said Wilshire, now the executive director of the American Association for Affirmative Action. She found a rise in the number of black students from Africa and the Caribbean, and the downturn in admissions for native black Americans like her. A study released this year put numbers on the trend. Among students at 28 top U.S. universities, the representation of black students of first and second generation immigrant origin, 27%, was about twice their representation in the national population of blacks their age, 13%. Within the Ivy League, immigrant origin students made up 41% of black freshmen. And you know what the absurd thing about this? You're not going to sit here and tell me that you didn't know it was a game being ran at the expense of native black Americans. You're not going to sit here and tell me that. But then what you do is you saw a game was being ran, but you didn't care, because a lot of these people that come to this country, not just blacks, they are so envious. They are so envious. They feel like this: if I had to go through struggles, I would rather go through struggles in America than in my other country, than in my country. So they are so envious, they didn't care. They didn't care that they were being used to help step on the necks and the backs of black Americans. And then you notice that when the tables turn and they find themselves in tough situations, they run and ask us for help. You wonder, well, why don't you ask white America, the ones who brought you over here and opened those college doors for you? Why don't you ask them to help you? You know why they don't ask? Because they already know. They knew they were being used. They knew they were being used to help oppress black American natives. That's what makes it sick. Let me continue. Wilshire would like to know why. She asked if her cause has lost its way on U.S. campuses with the goal of correcting American racial injustices replaced by a softer ideal of diversity, as if any black student will do. Here's the thing: the reason why they like dealing with you, which we have said on so many different platforms, if you are listening, the reason why they like dealing with you black immigrants is not because you're smarter. It's not because you're better. After all, you had to come here to become successful, right? You couldn't do it in your own land. They deal with you because they don't have the history on this soil that they have with us. That's the only reason you're being used. So stop tooting your own horn. It's embarrassing. Let's continue. The study published, it's embarrassing for you, not for me. The study published in the American Journal of Education found no definitive answer as to why the change is happening. However, folks I know personally who have worked in admissions have told me that they weren't surprised, said Camille Charles, a University of Pennsylvania professor who wrote the study with 3 Princeton University professors. Now, there's more to the article, but I only got a little insert of it because I wanted to discuss a few other articles that I found on the topic that basically confirms and show why we need to really, really actively delineate. It's more than just a word, it's an action. I found an article that was written 2 years ago. The title was called Delineation Doesn't Mean Discrimination, Understanding the Case for Federal Ethnic Recognition. There are quite a few petitions circulating that are demanding federal recognition and putting us in our own category. I think I signed 2 and I think okay. So check them out. In the complex and often contentious world of identity politics, the terms delineation and discrimination are frequently used, sometimes interchangeably, and often without a clear understanding of their distinct meanings. This confusion can be led to miscommunication and misunderstanding, particularly when discussing issues such as the American descendants of slavery movement and federal ethnic recognition. This article aims to clarify these concepts and explore their implications within the context of ADOS and federal ethnic recognition. Delineation in the context of identity politics refers to the act of defining or marking the boundaries of a particular group. This process is essential to recognizing the unique experiences, histories, and challenges faced by different ethnic or racial groups. Delineation is not inherently discriminatory, rather, it is a tool for understanding and acknowledging diversity. And here's the thing, I don't even understand why we have to keep explaining this, because we're talking to grown folks that you assume have an adult comprehension. There are things that we went through in this country, our ancestors, and it continued on for generations till today. There are things that we distinctively went through in this country that you didn't go through. Haitians, Caribbeans, Africans, you didn't go through that. Irish, Italians, what have you. We went through it here on American soil. Whatever you went through in your country, that's between you and your government. Let's continue. And if America was involved in the oppression and what you and your ancestors went through in your country, it's still between you and your government. The American Descendants of Slavery movement, the ADOS movement, is a prime example of delineation in action. This movement seeks to establish a distinct identity for Black Americans who are direct descendants of enslaved people in the U.S. The ADOS movement argues that this group has a unique history and experience that sets them apart from other Black people in America, such as recent African immigrants or Caribbean immigrants. The goal of this movement is not to discriminate against other groups, but to highlight the specific injustices and systemic disadvantages faced by descendants of American slavery. This delineation is seen as a necessary step towards addressing these unique challenges and advocating for reparations and policies specifically designed to readdress the historical injustices faced by this group. And what I find so evil and selfish is you saying you don't want us to get reparations because you can't get it. That's just like me going to your country saying I don't want you to receive repairs for damages done to you and your ancestors because I can't get it. You want to put me in a cannon and blow me out over the seas if I dared to go to your country and say something like that. Then you said, you guys, I don't understand the mentality of people in this country, in this world. Why do you think you get to say anything you want to say to us and we're supposed to be cool with it? Okay, let's go on. Federal ethnic recognition is another area where delineation plays a crucial role. In U.S., the federal government recognizes certain groups, such as Native American tribes, as distinct ethnic entities. This recognition allows these groups to access certain rights, protections, and resources. However, the process of federal ethnic recognition is complex and fraught with controversy. Critics argue that it can be discriminatory as it often requires groups to meet strict criteria to prove their ethnic identity. This can lead to situations where some groups are recognized while others with similar histories and cultures are not. And it was that way by design. You got to wonder why they have, okay. And I keep telling you, I saw an article a few years ago where this young lady did a video some time ago, and she was expressing, she wasn't black either. She wasn't Black American. She was talking about how Indians looked in the 1700s. They could not tell them apart from those they had enslaved in this country and the Indians. She couldn't tell them apart. Let's go on. In the context of ADOS and federal ethnic recognition, delineation is used to highlight the unique histories and experiences of these groups. This recognition is a crucial step towards addressing systemic injustices and advocating for policies that meet the specific needs of these communities. In conclusion, understanding the difference between delineation and discrimination is crucial in discussing about ADOS and federal ethnic recognition. Delineation is a necessary tool for acknowledging the unique experiences and challenges faced by different ethnic groups. It is not a form of discrimination, but a step towards understanding, respect, and justice. The ADOS movement and the process of federal ethnic recognition highlight the importance and complexity of delineation and identity politics. While these processes are not without controversy, they underscore the need for continued dialogue, understanding, and respect for diversity in our society. And at this point, I'm done with trying to make anybody understand, because I feel like if you so-called don't understand, that means because you don't want to. You can understand the propaganda that's spewed about us. You can understand the lies and things that have been proven to be lies. You can understand that and embrace it, but you can't understand the need for us to delineate and why we are doing so. I didn't realize so many people were so jealous of those they hate. Were that jealous of those they consider to be nothing. So many groups around this world look at us like we're nothing. And then you look at their backgrounds and what's going on in their country, and you had to make yourself not laugh at the foolishness, the hypocrisy. But I didn't realize that many people, so many different groups were so jealous of us. And it's like, if we're nothing, if you feel like we're nothing, why are you envious and why are you jealous, and why every chance you get you insert yourself in matters that have nothing to do with you? You know how many times I see comments from others that come in on these videos, and then all I'm thinking about is why. You know, I guess that's just the maturity in me. When I see videos that I am not interested in, regardless, it could be talking about the difference between having pet dogs and horses. If I'm not interested, I'm not going to look at it. I will scroll and keep scrolling until I find something else. So if you're so not interested in us and what we're doing and what we have done in the past and the present, why do you come and make yourself known on these videos? Why do you come and make yourself known on other people's platforms? Why? Can you honestly answer that question? The only answer I could get is envy and jealousy. That's it. That's the bottom line. Oh, black fatigue, and you're saying that while you're watching the video, though. God, do you realize how stupid you sound? That's just like somebody putting a bowl of soup in your face and you say, I cannot stand soup. You're saying that while you're spoon feeding yourself soup. Okay, listen. That's all I have for you guys today. Those who hung in towards the end are all the way to the end. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time and your support. And I'm about to be out. And I will see you guys in the next video. Happy delineation.